Good morning, everybody. We're delighted to welcome all of you to our Women in Pre-Sales webinar. So today we're going to have a chat with three of our amazing solutions engineers, Nadine, Biju, and Zara. Together, we'll hear about their journey towards a pre-sales role and the tech industry, the challenges that they have faced, and the successes they've had as well. Our panelists will share their experience being a woman in the pre-sales and tech environment, and they will also share their advice to thrive and develop your career. Following our discussion, we're going to have Audrey Jasper, who's a pre-sales manager at HubSpot, to introduce a fantastic initiative called the Women in Solution Engineering or WISE program. And finally, we'll leave some time at the end for a Q&A, but of course, feel free to ask all of your questions, as we go in the Q&A sections. And now I'm passing on to you, Nisha, to know more about our guests today.
Thank you, Aurel, and thank you for being here today, ladies. So I guess just before we get started, maybe Piju, Zara, and Nadine, you can just give us a quick introduction of yourselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Piju Asset. I am a solution engineer in charge of the UKI market for small businesses. I'm very glad to be here today.
Hey, everyone. My name is Zara Flannery, and I'm a senior solution engineer, and I work with the Iberian market.
Yeah, hi everyone, my name is Nadine Sarabia. I'm also with the UKI market, looking at mid-market portion. Been with HubSpot since September and really glad to be here.
Brilliant, thank you guys. So I guess let's get started. So something I want to kick off with is you've all had very different paths to get to where you are today in pre-sales and HubSpot. So I guess Nadine, I'm going to come to you first. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how you got into pre-sales.
Yeah, for sure. So before HubSpot, really, I didn't know pre-sales was a thing or there was a team involved with it. Previously, I was a technical account manager for a tech startup. So it was mostly post-sales, doing onboarding, tech support, and customer success. And it was a smaller team, so we didn't have a dedicated pre-sales team. But when it did come to more technically complex deals, the technical account managers would sometimes help do demos or were answering technical questions from the sales reps. So I was doing a little bit of pre-sales without knowing it was pre-sales. So I learned a lot in my role, but after a while, I was ready for a new challenge. But there were three things that I knew I wanted in my next role. So the first one was staying in the tech industry. Second one was being able to collaborate with other teams, working with them to solve problems or overcome challenges. And then the third one was talking to externals, so talking to prospects and customers, not just within the company. So that's when I came across the solution engineering role in HubSpot, and I thought like, whoa, this is amazing, because there are skills which I can rely on since I already did them in my current role at that time. But there were still so many things I can learn being a solution engineer. So yeah, that's how I got into pre-sales. If I could summarize it, I would say it was right timing and right opportunity.
I love that, Nadine. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love how you had transferable skills there, but there were still a couple of core things there that you took into consideration. So I guess I'd love to hear as well from Piju, maybe what attracted you to the pre-sales role?
Yeah, thanks, Nisha. I just got out of a maternity leave and I wanted something more challenging. I was in a role where I felt anybody could do that job, really. I was a controller in a logistics company. It was basically a reporting role, and I didn't feel I was challenged enough in that role. So I wanted something new, something more fast-paced than I was used to. And I discussed this with a few of my friends, and pre-sales came up as an option. I met with Nisha, who was a member of the team then, and she also came in from a non-tech background, and we were able to discuss what the role is about, and we decided that it was something that could suit me well, and I tried it, and here we are today.
Great, we are delighted to have you on the team, Piju.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And then I guess something else to consider here is that HubSpot offers the ability to move internally to like other roles and departments. And I know, Zara, you moved from a position in onboarding and customer onboarding within HubSpot to solutions engineering. So I'd love to be able to find out a little bit more about can you tell us how you made this move? And I guess, how did you find out about the position, and what kind of help did you get for that?
Yeah, so to give a bit of context, I was first started in HubSpot 6 years ago when I started off in the support team. So I gained a bit of technical knowledge there. And then I moved over to the onboarding team. So I was working very closely with the product back then, in the product every single day for 3 years. And it got to a stage that I was very comfortable and I wanted a new challenge. So one day, a team member of my team goes, "Hey, Zara, did you see the solution engineer role for Iberia? I think you'd be a really good fit." And I was like, I don't know about that. I was like, sales, is it very cutthroat, fast paced? That's always the perception I got from the sales org. And I was like, right now I'm going on holidays for a month, not the right time to apply. I'll have a think about it when I come back. And then Nisha, who's on the call today, and Marsha reached out to me. They're like, "Hey, I think you'd be a great person for our team." And I was like, "I'm still not sure. Let's have a chat about it." So Nisha set up a meeting and she told me all about the role and basically it's not so cutthroat or the perception of fast paced that I understood. You work, collaborate with your sales team. There's a lot of mentoring involved as well. And you kind of move over from the services side over to the sales side and you're part of their team as well. So before, when you're in the service side, you're kind of getting the deals from one side to the other. So after having a chat with Nisha, I was like, loved the sound of the role. I wanted to learn a little bit more. So I met up with Sebastian, who worked in the Iberia market, and that would be the market that I would go into. He gave me a little bit more insights into the market itself. So with them learnings, I decided, this is the role I want to go towards. So basically I applied. So it was great to get the insights from the team members, and my perception was completely wrong. I think it's a little bit of an old-fashioned perception that's very kind of cutthroat. HubSpot is very different. We have a lot of values internally, especially in the sales org. So that was my learning, was I had that perception and then it was corrected by talking to people internally. So that's really important.
Thank you, Zara. I really like that, and how you were able to kind of talk to people on the team. And I know that even you and I worked together in the onboarding team, and I was able to steal you over into solutions engineering as well. But it was great that you were able to talk to other people on the team, get a real feel of the role before kind of jumping in there. And I think there's lots of those opportunities in HubSpot, which is great. Cool, thanks, Sarah. So I guess, Peja, you told us a little bit more about how you ended up applying for the role, but maybe you can tell us about your previous experience and how that kind of helped you to be successful in the SE role.
Yeah, I worked in a controlling unit in a mid-sized logistics firm. My job, simply put, was reporting, making recommendations, finding loopholes, finding reasons why we were not meeting our targets, and making recommendations on how those loopholes could be filled. It was totally not related to tech, of course, but there were some skills that I believe now help me in the role. One of them, I think, would be stakeholder management. It was always important to have relationships with people from different units in the organization. And now in the pre-sales role, I think that helps me to interact better with the prospects that we meet, because you meet people from different fields, different units, different positions in the organization. And that previous experience now helps me to navigate that better. Another thing would probably be consulting skills, trying to find what the pain points is for the prospects that we have. And same thing I was doing before, making recommendations, trying to let them see how HubSpot can fit their plans. And yeah, so those skills definitely have helped. If there's anything to take from this, I think it would be that no matter what activities you've been engaging in, even if they are not very professional, even if they're activities in your private life, like planning parties or whatever you're very good at, there can be skills from all those that you can bring into the job. Of course, you can build on the other skills that are lacking, but definitely you always have something to offer when it comes to the job.
I really like that, Peja, and I think you really hit the nail on the head in terms of having different skills and how that can be applied to the solutions engineering role or pre-sales roles. And I think that's really important to consider there. And then I guess, Nadine, obviously, you came from a different background there as well. And I was going to ask, like, why software sales, or I guess, what was your experience of breaking into that industry?
Yeah, I think software, or more generally tech, is such an integral part of our lives now. And it's been tech and software companies that have shaken up the corporate world in the last 20, 30 years. And I bet a lot of people have this thought in their mind where they go, oh, I really like using that software or this app, or I had a good customer experience with this and I'm curious about their business. So that's actually how I got into the industry. So it was first and foremost the company that I was interested in and what I looked out for. So their product and their mission with that product. And really from the beginning, as a fresh graduate, I didn't know what I could do or what role to specialize in. So when I zoomed in on that company that I applied for, I handed in a very general application and landed in sales. So that role in sales at a tech startup, that first step was so valuable because I became familiar with all these tech concepts, but in a broader way, also came to know what type of roles there were available in tech. So from product to sales to design to tech support, so on and so forth. So tech is like so vast because there's always room to try something new. And after some time in sales, other managers saw my propensity for tech and navigating through software, despite not having a software engineering background, that they themselves encouraged me to take on a more consultative role of technical account manager. So yeah, it started with just being curious about a tech company, getting a foot into the tech industry with a very general job application, to taking on different roles, and that evolving into knowing what you want and what you're good at.
That's so interesting. And I think there's a couple of things there, like no one ever goes to, university or does a course in solutions engineering. And I think
no, it doesn't exist.
It's those different skills that you can kind of bring in and transfer, and then they end up, being able to utilize that really well in the role. Thanks for that, Nadine. And I guess, Sarah, I want to kind of come to you next. I guess now that we heard about you making that internal move, and now that you're actually in the pre-sales role, I guess, how do you kind of approach career development and those growth opportunities in the role today?
Yeah, of course. To start off, HubSpot do give, for example, education reimbursement. So over the last few years, when I've been with HubSpot, I've availed of that, which has been amazing. But this year, how I'm approaching career growth, I'm actually taking part of a team lead program. So there is a team leader program available in the sales org, which is amazing, which lets you take part in different kind of courses and lets you upskill on leadership competencies, for example. So this year is taken part in that course, and we also have Sandler training as well, which is amazing. Especially for people coming from services, for example, or other industries and have not been able to kind of upskill in a professional environment in sales. We've been given the opportunity to take part of Sandler training, which is to upskill on sales skills. So currently right now, I'm working on the team lead program, working on the Sandler training, and later on in the year, I'm going to take part in the reimbursement of the budget that we're given. So I'm definitely going to look into different courses to be able to upskill even further after completing the team lead program. So just to highlight, like HubSpot really invest in you, especially with that reimbursement and different courses. Like, for example, it's 2 internal courses that I'm taking part in this year, which is amazing. So yeah, that's it.
I love that, Sarah. So you're able to really benefit, use that reimbursement, and now you're doing 2 courses there. That's great.
Yeah.
Cool. And I guess something that kind of comes up quite often, or a lot of us might feel at some stage, is kind of that imposter syndrome feeling of either joining a new role or taking on a new task. And I guess, PJ, I kind of want to come to you for this one here. Have you experienced or felt that? And if so, how did you kind of navigate your way out of that?
Yeah, definitely. The first few weeks, I think, in the role were quite difficult for me, not because I was pushed into the role without preparation. I was still onboarding, so not much was actually required. But I remember going into the Slack channels then, and someone would ask a very technical question, and a lot of people would have very nice contributions, and I had no idea what they were talking about. At some point, I felt, okay, am I in the right place? Do I even know what I'm doing here? But with time, I got to talk to a lot of people on the team, and I found that it's actually more common than we give it credit for. there are times when even the tenured SAs sometimes feel a bit challenged in the role, and that's normal. I think self-awareness is very important here to know that, yeah, there are probably some skill gaps that you will have to fill, but it doesn't mean you're not competent for the job. So what's important is taking feedback wherever you have the opportunity, talk to others in the team, get the support that you need, try to fill those gaps. And with time, you feel less of the imposter syndrome. Now I open the Slack channel and most of the time I know what's going on. I also understand what's going on. I can contribute objectively to what is being discussed. And I know that's from months of training and months of being on the job. So the longer you spend in the role, the better you become, the more your confidence will grow, and the less instances you would have to feel you're not in the right place.
That's so interesting, PJ. And I think a couple of things that I really love that I picked out there is that you mentioned it's important to take that feedback on board, close those gaps, but also use that support system around you. There's people around you, and a lot of people and a lot of us have experienced that at some stage and are there to support you. So I really, really like that. Cool. Thanks, PJ. Nadine, I'm going to come to you here for the next part. So I guess you ramped up very quickly while, really impressively, while also being a remote employee. And as a lot of us have experienced over the kind of last year or two, joining a new place remotely. And I guess what's your experience been in doing all of that? Or do you have any tips?
Yeah, it was certainly very different. I mean, I've never worked remotely before or did onboarding remotely before. But despite being remote, the onboarding was very comprehensive, also very interactive and fun. So we started off with a more general welcome and introduction to HubSpot, to a more specific sales foundation training, both created by the learning and development team in HubSpot. And then I believe after around a month, it was the more pre-sales specific training that was created by members of the pre-sales team. So the pre-sales training was very comprehensive with lots of tasks and also lots of different ways to actually apply what you've learned about the different HubSpot products. And we also had a mentor with us, helping us with every step of the way in the onboarding, who was available to answer our questions and help us improve. But beyond the skill set, I really appreciated being encouraged in the onboarding to take breaks, because Zoom fatigue is very real. It still is. It was a lot of information to take in as well, learning all the different HubSpot products. But yeah, I really appreciated the encouragement of breaks. And also we were encouraged to book coffee chats with the rest of the team to get to know them, to introduce ourselves and all that. So for me, especially as a new hire at that time, as much as I'd like to know everything and get started in the role ASAP, I also really wanted to know the team and who we're working with, which is really a little bit more difficult in a remote environment. So yeah, my experience was definitely made easier with a comprehensive onboarding, thanks to the teams that organized it, the pre-sales team, the learning development org. But also the rest of the team was very welcoming and always keen to catch up with you for coffee and get to know you even virtually, even in a remote environment. So it was really fun and would highly recommend it to any new hires.
Thanks, Nadine. So what we're kind of saying here is that it's good to kind of, obviously you had the experience of ramping up, but you also just took the time to get to know people on the team, have those coffee chats, build those relationships, and that kind of helped you ease in. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Zara, maybe you can tell us, why being on the team, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the mix on the team. Do you think there's kind of a good mix of diversity and gender on the team, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the last time I heard at the beginning of the year, there was like 50% globally for women and men in solution engineering, which is pretty cool to have so many women globally on the team. But I still think in EMEA, we can definitely improve for individual contributors. So I think that's why we're doing this today. But across the management team, it's incredible that we have so many women leaders. So we have a VP, director, and we have 4 managers that are women in the team itself. So that is huge for the team to have so many powerful women and role models. But we have so many people from so different kind of countries and backgrounds, which is incredible. Like the diversity on the team is outstanding. Like I've never seen anything like that in any of the previous teams that I've been on. So that's been a credit to the recruitment process and the people that have been hired. I think that definitely people come from different backgrounds really helps. So there's people that are super technical. There's other people that come from, for example, maybe other services role or even completely different. And we all kind of work together. We all add something different to the team, which is really it's really great to work in that kind of environment. So overall, we have a great diversity in the team, but I think in EMEA, we still would love to have more women in the team. Audrey is going to talk about later about solution engineering for women. It's a WISE program that we're currently working on. So we are really promoting women to join our team.
Cool. Thanks so much for sharing that, Sarah. Great. And then I guess, Nadine, we'll come to you for this one. So what's the biggest challenge that you have faced so far in the role?
The biggest challenge I've faced in the role is me, myself, and I. What I mean by that is a lot of the deals I work with, just for context, are technically complex, which makes sense because that's precisely why the sales team asks for support, right, for more complex use cases. So when I prepare for these meetings or talk to prospects, there's always that element of self-doubt about whether I know enough, if I'm qualified enough, or if I really did offer the best solution or workaround that's available out there. So I also found that a lot of women in solution engineering or maybe tech in general, which is still very male dominated, of course, have these moments of self-doubt as well. So a lot of us share this experience, sometimes being in a meeting and you're the only woman in the room, or you may be the youngest looking one out there, especially when you're talking to a more traditional company. That's when the self-doubt really kicks in. But to overcome that challenge, I have to pause and check myself on my own biases. I have to say to myself, I do know enough, I am qualified. I have a specific role in this meeting or whatever it is, a project or whatever, that I can fulfill and will fulfill. So yeah, I think speaking of universal experiences as a woman in pre-sales, I think the others can also share their own experiences too.
Yeah, definitely. Even from my perspective, Nadine, +1 in that scenario, that being a young woman on a call, sometimes with prospects that expect a man to be in a technical role, and you sometimes have to come in with that authority and really kind of give them the hard facts for you to be kind of taken seriously. So that's something when you're working with an old-fashioned industry, and they have their perceptions, that's something that's kind of complex to kind of get that authority and give them the hard facts to be taken seriously. So I completely agree with that. I think in HubSpot, it's great to be a woman working in sales. They're all very open-minded, but I think the biggest challenge is working with prospects that come from different industries, and we need to kind of break them barriers of being a woman in tech. So I think +1 on that, Nadine.
Thanks so much for that, Nadine and Zara. And I love, Zara, that you kind of finished off there with saying to really break those barriers, because I think that's important to really get that out there and ensure that, it's becoming much more common to have women in tech sales roles. And then I guess, Piju, I'd love to be able to come to you for this next one here. Because you are a parent and you're working in a fast-paced pre-sales environment, I'd love to find out from you, like, how do you kind of juggle all of that while maintaining a work-life balance?
Yeah, thanks, Nisha. I have two very little kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So definitely that's the age where they need a lot of attention. And in the beginning, it definitely was tough. But I found out with time that was because I had too many expectations that were not realistic. And I felt the best way to present myself as a professional to my peers and to my manager was to make them feel that I didn't have any issues and I'm here for the job fully and I don't need any extra support. In the end, there really is no balance. There will be some times where you have to give more to the home front and to your kids. And there will be times where you are lucky that everything is going smooth, nobody's sick and everything's fine. And you can give your all to the job. making peace with that fact is actually what can make you work well in your role. Being able to know that the reality is that things can't always go according to plan. You can plan all you want, but you always have to make allowances for when things don't go according to your plan. Also, having the option to work remotely works. So I have more control over my time. I can plan and manage my time better because I don't have to be in an office at any point. Having a very understanding manager also helps. I can say I'm lucky to be in HubSpot in that regard because all the managers that I have interacted with are very happy and very willing to support you in every way that they can. And that actually does help a lot. Apart from that, there are a lot of resources that are available just by being a HubSpot employee that help a lot. My favorite is actually the Slack channel for parents. It's always my go-to when I need to just relax for some time because you'll find the cutest baby pictures there and people sharing their experiences on what they've had, the interactions they've had with their kids. There's always something to make you laugh, but it's not just for fun. You always can also rely on the parents there to give you very good advice because whatever you're going through or whatever challenge you have at that point in time in managing your work-life balance, they have also gone through it and they have somehow come up with ways to overcome these challenges. So it's like a small community of like-minded people with very similar situations, and we're always there to provide support for each other. Of course, there are a lot of resources actually. We have premium membership for care.com. So being an HubSpotter actually gives you the opportunity to have a premium membership there, and you can always get backup care for your kids if all hell goes loose and school is closed and you just need someone to take care of them. You have the option of doing that. You also can get psychological counseling for free. And sometimes you really do need the counseling because you're tired and frustrated or stressed. And other times you really just need someone to talk you through how to manage your time better or how to plan better. All those things actually go a long way to help. A very special one also is the free books program that I personally use, not just to get books to advance my career, but also I get books on very interesting parenting skills, potty training, sleep training, anything. And the opportunity to be able to get these extra resources is very, 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 very amazing. In the end, if I would summarize it, it's plan, get all the help you can, get all the support you can. There's no price for being the most stressed person, and you definitely will be stressed. So get all the help you're offered, get all the support you can get. And whenever things don't go according to plan, as my body always says to me, we are not saving lives, we're just selling software in HubSpot. If you need to take time off to take care of yourself, do it gladly. Don't feel guilty about that. And know that it's for the best and it's for you to come back and give a better version of yourself to your job.
PJ, that was just amazing. Thank you so much for that, and so inspiring. And you mentioned lots of stuff there to really support you as a parent. So that's amazing that you've had that experience. Thank you for that. And I guess just to kind of finish off with the panelists here, I have one last question where I'm going to come to all three of you. So I guess if you could tell me, what is one piece of advice you would give to other women who are hoping to develop or advance a career in pre-sales? Nadine, we can come to you first, Nadine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for those thinking of switching to pre-sales or applying for a pre-sales role, I think I'll focus my advice on a particular group. So I sympathize a lot for women who feel neither here nor there with tech. So that's exactly how I felt when I was looking for a new opportunity. Like my lack of software engineering background made me unsure of starting a career in pre-sales. So I would say just give yourself a chance to go for it. In the end, while a software engineering or very technical background always helps, it's your own unique perspectives and experiences that could set you apart from the rest. So your current experience, be it answering tickets or helping a customer troubleshoot a tech issue, they all matter and they're all valid. So don't undersell yourself, don't undersell those parts of your CV, and really don't stop yourself from doing something potentially great and life-changing. Yep.
Thanks, Nadine. PJ, if you want to answer that one next.
Yeah, I think I would like to round up with this. Things are changing for women in tech. And like Nadine said, you would be shortchanging yourself not to give yourself the opportunity if you have it. It's very easy to get a foot in. Talk to people in the role. All of us, I think I can speak for everybody if I say we'll be very glad to have a chat with anyone who's interested. Let's just have a chat. Let's see if it's something that actually excites you. In the end, if you look at what is rendered in the role and you feel it's not something you can do, that's also fine, but at least you give yourself the satisfaction of knowing that you made the right steps to know if it's a good fit for you. There are a lot of resources that you can check out to know what the role is about, what the skills needed are, and there are a lot of resources to actually build yourself up in those skills. So go for it. Don't second guess yourself.
Thanks, Bijou. And Zara, if we want to come to you now last, please.
Yeah. And then from my side, don't let any perceptions or imposter syndrome get in the way. Like it happened to me, I had a perception of sales. It's really important to do your research, talk to people in the role. They will give you a great insight into actually what the role entails. So always do your research before guessing that role is not for me, I can't do that role. And don't second guess yourself, always do your research. So that's really important.
Great, thanks, Zara. And I just want to say thank you so much to Nadine, Bijou, and Zara for all of your really great insights into the role and into your experience. Thank you so much for that. So I think next we're going to move on and we're going to have Audrey, who will talk to us about WISE. Just before we even get into that, Audrey, I just wanted to give a quick introduction. So as many of us, Audrey kind of fell into the pre-sales role by pure luck. She didn't know that this role existed before joining Oracle as a BDR. And then Audrey quickly realized that a career in sales wasn't exactly for her. So she decided to explore other roles that would better fit where she wanted to be. And I guess that's when Audrey discovered the pre-sales role and joined that in Oracle back in 2015. And then it's been 5 years that Audrey's been with HubSpot, first as an SC and then moved into the management role. And May 2021 is when Audrey launched WISE. And so WISE is a Women in Solutions Engineering program, and it's a real community that Audrey is really proud of. But maybe Audrey, I'm going to come to you and you can tell us a little bit more about this. So I guess firstly, why did you decide to create WISE at HubSpot and where did that idea come from?
Thank you, Nisha, and hello everyone. I'm delighted to be here today in this webinar and to share my experience launching WISE, this Women in Solution Engineering community that I'm really, really proud of. And we have amazing women in our pre-sales organization today that are contributing to it. So Nisha, to answer your question, when I joined HubSpot, one thing I realized is that we needed to get more women in pre-sales. We needed to have more women in solution engineering. And we have hired so many women today that you have heard in this webinar already that have contributed to the growth of HubSpot. But I think it's not just about women, it's also by building a really diverse team. So my first effort as a manager was really to make sure that we could have diversity, yes, of gender, but also of culture, of experience, of backgrounds, of ideas in the team. And with all of that, we were able to build this amazing team of solution engineers at HubSpot. And a year ago, I actually realized we have a good parity of women and men in our organization today because of all the effort we have done to make sure that we could get these women with the really inspiring ideas and background into our organization. So the challenge was not about hiring women, but it was mainly about making sure that women felt supported at HubSpot. And that's where I thought about like, okay, what do we do now? We have all these amazing women in our organization and they are there. So how do we support them better? How do I feel supported better myself as a woman? So I spoke with a couple of women from other organizations, from other companies who have launched the WISE program in the past. So they told me about WISE, they told me about like the benefits of creating this community. And I just thought like, okay, why not ask all our women at HubSpot if they are interested by such a thing. And the results I got from a survey launch were amazing. Like there was so much interest for that. Everyone wanted to actually contribute to this WISE community. Everyone wanted to know more and to take some actions. So that's where that came from.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Audrey. That was really, really interesting to kind of find out how you went about it and how it really started to grow off the back of that. And I guess, how did you end up launching WISE? How did that kind of come about?
Yeah, so after the survey and after getting all this amazing feedback and ideas from our women, I organized in May last year, so it's almost like a year ago, the first meetup to gather all the women in solution engineering together. We had at the time Barbara McCarthy. She is director of an engineering team at Ding.com, who came as a guest speaker and talk about how she developed her career in a technical role as a woman and move into this leadership position. And we also use this opportunity to gather new ideas from every woman in the meetup about what they would like WISE to be. So from there, we gathered so many ideas and initiatives. I can tell you more about that after. But really what we decided was to create a Slack channel where we could all engage and share our knowledge. So we are now 55 women in this Slack channel, only women from the solution engineering organization. So it's quite a good number. And as Zara mentioned, I think we are currently around like 50% of solution engineering are women. So it's quite good. And on this Slack channel, we share ideas, we share articles, we talk about the challenge that we are facing. Piju, Nadine, Zara, you mentioned them all, I think. The imposter syndrome, the work-life balance, building your career, building confidence, all of these things that matter for us, we can talk about it and make sure that we feel there is a support group for each one of us when this come up for us. And yeah, like maybe to finish on this question, Nisha, a couple of women also put their hands up and say like, hey, I want to contribute. I want to give my time. So some of you have already created some book club to talk about specific article you have read. Other have also shared article on the Slack channel to discuss or shared recording of things they have done in the past. So there is a lot of engagement and contribution from each other in this community.
Great, thank you so much for that, Audrey. I really like how it's grown. Like right now we're over 50 people, but hopefully we're able to get even more ladies into that group and really join that community and contribute to that as well. And I guess you mentioned initiatives there. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what are some of the main initiatives for WISE in 2022.
Yeah, so we started the year by doing a kickoff meetup where our VP of Presales came and talked about her own experience. So Niamh Twanson, is our global VP of Presales. She's a woman. We also have a woman director, which I think it's amazing because they can really represent us today. So in terms of next step, we are looking to organize a couple of book club as well. And this month, we are going to have a Zumba class that is going to be organized by one of our women in solution engineering member, who is actually a Zumba instructor. So it's not just about work, it's also about like having a good time all together and making sure that we have time to relax if we need some, and a Zumba class is perfect for that. But right now we are also looking into doing a coaching program that is going to focus on developing your career. and that will be available to all the WISE community and to all the women in pre-sales. So there are some of the initiatives that we have so far, but there are more coming for sure, because we have a group of advocate women who have decided to take ownership of some new initiative as well this year.
I love that, Audrey. There's so much initiatives to look forward to, so I'm excited about that. And I guess I know I asked this question to PJ, Nadine and Zara, but maybe I can also ask you as well, just based off the back of what you've created in terms of WISE, what advice would you give to someone starting their career in pre-sales?
Yeah, so I wrote it in the chat. I don't have a technical background. I've never studied like anything around engineering or web programmatic solution or anything like this. So I will say, don't be scared. Like, I know it can be scary sometimes when you see solution engineering, you are hearing the word engineer and you think that you need to be like super technical to go into one of these roles. That's not the case. Everything I learned on the technical side, I learned it in the role. However, I was really curious. I really wanted to challenge myself and get to a new step in my career. And that was the perfect opportunity. So if you are not afraid to learn something new, there is an opportunity for you in this role. And yeah, to add to that, we, as women in particular, we usually lack confidence. We have this imposter syndrome. So when we are looking at the job description, if we are not meeting 100% of the criteria, we usually don't apply. And that's not the case for men who don't have this barrier when looking at job description. So my advice for you all is don't stop yourself for applying to a role if you feel that could be a great opportunity for you. And that's completely normal that you won't fit 100% of the criteria. That's not what us manager we are looking for. What we are looking for is all these soft skills that women have in terms of being curious, being responsible, ability to learn as well, and to like get to know a new environment. So my advice is, if you feel you have these soft skills, go ahead and look into pre-sales as a career option for you.
Thank you so much for that, Audrey. I think a couple of key points there that you mentioned. It's okay to be afraid, but it's important to like be curious and have different skill sets for this role. And I really, really like that. Great. Well, thank you so much for that, Audrey, and thanks for filling us in on all the WISE program. And I guess, Arel, I'm going to hand it over to you to take any questions from the audience. I know there's a couple of questions I can see there in the Q&A. So maybe, Arel, you can give some of those to the panelists.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Nisha. Yes, we have a lot of questions today, which is great to see. So there's a couple that we kept for the live session with our panelists. I would ask the first question to Nadine. The first question is, how often do you find yourself simplifying the technical language for non-technical prospects?
Oh, great question. I would say a fair amount, because we talk to different people within the organization of the prospect when introducing HubSpot. So for example, it's not necessarily the CTO or a developer that I'm speaking to. It could be the head of marketing, because they're interested in the marketing hub of HubSpot. So they are not interested in knowing which API documentation. What they care about is, for example, okay, how do I know my team is performing? What features do you have to support all of that? And yeah, so I would say a fair bit. It's not super technical all the time. We also value these conversations where we ensure that they can achieve whatever their challenge is. They can overcome that with HubSpot. And also within our onboarding, within our training, we also have this aspect in our training where we actually kind of role play how to talk to different stakeholders. So how to talk to a CTO, how to talk to a manager, to an individual contributor. So we can learn how to maybe edit what we're going to say to different stakeholders. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks for your answer, Nadine. I completely agree with you. It's really important to know how to address and speak to different kind of people among an organization, and that's a very important skill for the SE role. I agree with you. Thanks. We have another question, interesting one. I think I will ask Sarah this time. Do you have growth conversations with your manager? And if you're comfortable, of course, you're not obliged to, can you maybe share with us one short-term or long-term goal in your career?
Yeah, of course. So as I mentioned already, HubSpot does invest a huge amount into your career development. And it's a big topic we have with our managers constantly on how we're going to develop, how we're going to progress, etc. So every 6 months, we do have dedicated sessions, which we go through our competencies and see what skills we have currently and what skills we need to work on and where we are at this moment in time. So that's one really useful session that we have that I find it just puts your everyday kind of life to a side in your SE world, talking about prospects, deals, technical issues, etc. And it focuses more on yourself as an individual and how you can grow, which is really useful. So I found that, and then you go, okay, where do I want to go in like 2 to 5 years? Where do I want to kind of improve on, and how will I get there, which is really important. So for example, working with my manager Dola, we were thinking about how can I, for example, work towards team lead, which is a course I mentioned earlier on, which is internal, provided by HubSpot, to work towards them management skills. So I started off in a coaching project, basically for internal people in HubSpot and to coach them into our role, basically. So I was working on that project with Dola and having coaching sessions every 2 weeks on how we can improve this project and work on them skills to get me into the team lead program. So currently the team lead program gets you to work on them kind of skills for the long-term process. So HubSpot does invest hugely, and your manager is there to support you along the way, having them conversations. And it's something that we constantly go back to and go, okay, where are we with this, for example, project we're working on, or towards this skill you want to work on in concrete. So yeah, hope that answers the question.
Thank you for sharing, Sarah. And yeah, like this kind of conversation is so important, and it's so easy to just forget about it and let time pass by, and then you realize that, oh, actually I wanted to do something, in those years, and I didn't work towards my goals. So super important aspects of the role as well. We have another question, a very good one. This one is for Pedro. What would you say is the typical day or typical week of a SE?
I would say, of course, that depends on how we all work differently. But for me, a typical day starts on Slack. I think we're very, very active on Slack here. And so we reach out to each other. Good morning, everyone. If there's something to share that has happened that will make everybody in the team laugh, of course, you share that. And the day goes on with administrative duties, check your mails, reply messages, have meetings with sales reps. Sometimes I have meetings with prospects. Sometimes I have meetings with other people in the team. For example, I'm relatively new in the team, so I tend to have a lot of meetings with tenured SEs on difficult use cases that I have. And I use those as sort of coaching sessions to improve in the role. I have a lot of those these days. And yeah, also we have very, very nice catch-ups with other members of the team. It's something that we think it's important because most of us work remotely, and it's always good to have that sort of interaction with your team members for team building. And yeah, so a typical day goes like that. Sometimes we also have training sessions that involve the whole team, or other meetings that involve the whole team. But yeah, day to day, it depends on the kind of deals you're working on and how busy you are.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, there's a big variety in the tasks that we have or do on a daily basis as an SE. One might think that we spend all of our time on deals or on calls, it's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of preparation involved. There's a lot of research because we keep learning on the role as well. But yeah, like I think you expressed it very well, that there is a variety, of actions to be taken. We have another great question from Laura, and actually I would maybe ask this one to all of you ladies, and depending on your experience. How is your experience working with sales reps? And I will maybe detail a bit more. Do you feel empowered and satisfied when working together? Do you feel frustrated that you need to babysit them sometimes? And Laura, explained that she worked with variation of different people and personas. And I guess the experience is not always the same, depending on your role and who you're working with. So yeah, can you share anything with working with sales reps, how you feel about it, maybe challenges that you face or successes that you've had as well? Sarah, do you want to
I can start off.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's a big part of our role, is to manage the relationship with our sales reps. And it's really important to get to really know them as a person as well, and to know their strengths and their weaknesses, and to know where to kind of support them. I wouldn't say you'd babysit them, but there's sometimes you need to be kind of more aware for certain sales rep or to support them in what area compared to another one. Some of them are a little bit more proactive. Some other ones you'd have to maybe be, hey, remember to invite me to this meeting or this, etc. So I think the most important thing is to know your sales reps, because on the back of that, you know how to tailor how you're going to work with them. And then that will define your success going forward. I think that's really important. There's some sales reps are super proactive, and there's other ones that may need help with their kind of organization skills, and you need to be more on their back. But to be honest, I really enjoy it. I wouldn't say it's frustrating. I think it's, if there's something that is frustrating you, a particular scenario, do talk to the sales rep and talk through it and work on that. Don't let, for example, something that frustrates you, not make you not like the job, because that's really important too. If there's anything that's frustrating you, talk to the sales rep, to have a one-on-one and talk through it, because you have them in your everyday life for the whole time. So it's really important to invest in that relationship, which is really important. Yeah.
Communication is key.
It's
completely,
key.
yeah,
100%.
completely agree with you. Nadine, maybe you would like to add something?
Yeah, sure. So actually looking back at all the trainings I've undergone in HubSpot, or maybe the pre-sales org in particular, I would say there were just as many trainings about how to handle your relationship with the sales team in comparison to, like, tech training or product training and all that. So it's really key, and we emphasize on that a lot. I do agree with what Laura, I think her name, I do agree with what she said, and I have a feeling that it's a universal experience. It depends on a lot of factors, like how new they are to the team, how tenured they are, how much they want to engage in help or collaboration with the SE, because we can't force them to make use of the solution engineering team. So I think it still boils down to what Zara said, building relationships with them, being honest with them if things are not so peachy, because in the end, they're quite stressed out. They have a lot of quotas to fulfill, and sometimes that does bring about friction, because at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter, they're all stressed out, saying, "Oh, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that?" And I have to say, like, sometimes that does get on my nerves, like, for lack of a better term, sometimes, because it was just like a bit rude, really, for lack of a better term. But we're all working in the same team, like, we're all going towards the same goals. At the end of the day, we might have different roles, different things that we focus on, but in the end, like, we're all working for HubSpot and helping sell software. So in the end, I think it's a communication issue. Let's talk to them. Let's collaborate with them, because, like I said, we're all going for the same goals in the end.
That's so true. You're so right, ladies. Communication is key, and yes, we need to remember we're all in the same boat. We're all working towards the same goal, and it can be easy to forget it sometimes because we're all human. But yes, we are on the same team. Thank you so much for sharing. We have another really good question. This one is for Peju. What are the kinds of industries that you support for GLs, and do you get to choose, or is it assigned to you? How does it work?
The deals are assigned to us and we do not get to choose. So what this implies is that we work across various industries. And that's actually one of the beauties of working in pre-sales. Every prospect is different, every industry is different, and it gives you like more insight into how different industries work. For example, I now have deals that I work with, I think an airline, I have some healthcare industries, pharmaceutical industries, event planning industries. I've had the opportunity to work with people from all these various industries. And yeah, the beauty in the role is being able to switch from one to the other seamlessly and solve problems for all of them. So you can imagine the joy that comes from knowing that you can be useful to people from various industries just by doing a good job.
And I guess I have a follow-up question. That this one is my own. Sorry. How do you manage on a daily basis, and maybe what kind of challenges, or on the contrary, advantages you have, perks working on different industries? How do you manage combining all those different business models, kind of data, like processes? How do you do it?
It's a double-edged sword. So on one hand, there are this, well, not disadvantages, but some challenges that can come up when you have a lot of deals that are not related coming up, and you have to keep track of what's going on each deal. That needs some serious organizing skills, which I'm getting a hang of, thank God. But the advantage is that, yeah, you meet different people every day, different organizations with different internal structures. You get on some calls and you're happy to see a lot of women in the teams. You get on some very traditional, you get on some calls with some very traditional companies, and they just can't say, what are you doing here? But you can see it written on their faces, like they are definitely not what they expect to see as a solution to their problem. And then in instances like that, you challenge yourself to actually do a very good job and represent yourself and HubSpot very well. Because doing that not only gets the job done, so they see the tools, they know we can solve their problem, but somehow you change the perceptions that they have about seeing a woman or a young woman or a person of color on the call. It somehow helps to change the biases that people have against minorities, and I think that is something that gives me personal joy.
That's such a great answer. Thank you so much for sharing. I think we're coming up to the end of our time today. So thank you to all of our attendees for being here with us today. Thank you to our panelists as well, Nadine, Peju, and Zara. Thank you to our special guests, Audrey, for sharing. Well, thank you to all of them for sharing their experience, their knowledge, and advice as well. Through this webinar, we hope that we were able to demonstrate that the career in pre-sales is a great opportunity for both men and women, and to help you start or continue your path in pre-sales. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here with us today, and have a great rest of your day.